Hello and welcome to the Space Between Ideas. I'm Blaine Gates. Sorry, I gotta sit really close to the computer. The thing is, I moved to my new apartment. It's got a really beautiful view of the mountains. Perhaps you can see the mountains here in the background a little bit, but, and I mean, I can see the mountains. I kind of have a blurred background. I can't show you the mountains today. Maybe tomorrow. But I do have a really busy screen that we can talk about. Let's start with this first one on the left. Now, or maybe we should start with the one down here. So here we go on Space Between Ideas on my YouTube, no, on my LinkedIn page. So I had a meeting with a guy named Alexei. Now, Alexei is really interesting because he is doing a startup company. Now, it's not like a startup from a teenager or a startup from a Stanford University grad. This guy has decades of experience. He knows how to program aviation software, and he just opened up a Delaware company. He's a Russian man, and he knows how to get things done. And he's super, super bright. So, yeah, he told me today, he said, when you start the day, you need to think about how many outcomes you will achieve today. And if possible, do some things that you could do tomorrow, today. And, all right, so this morning I woke up in my new apartment, and this place is a mess. Like, it's a mess. Because, I just have no idea what to do here. I've been traveling my whole life. I lived in China for 10 years. I lived in the US for 4 years. I've been in South Korea for 6 months, France for 6 months. I've been to Laos and Vietnam and Australia and Mongolia and where else? Then I was in China for 10 years. I was in Russia for 2 years. I was in Saudi Arabia for a year. I was in Belarus for at least 7-8 months. Ukraine for 3 months, Bulgaria for 3 months, Greece, Spain. I've been a renter for a really long time. So suddenly I buy an apartment and I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do anything, Like my work is literally like my mouth, my brain, my fingers. That's all I use. And then suddenly I'm supposed to be renovating this place, and it's insane. So I literally don't know what to do. And I was talking to Alexei about it, and I showed him the bathroom, which needs some work. And he was telling me he's done this before, he has properties, he's renovated, and he's got a family, all that kind of stuff. So anyways, we were talking about the 7 habits of highly effective people and the difference between dependence and independence. And then I was comparing Tom's work to the 7 habits work. Now, why does it hurt my brain? That's another point I wanted to make. See, the thing is that I have so many things that need to be done here, and I don't really know the order. So when it comes to developing this course that I've been talking about, a coach's course for how to use these direct outcomes checklists, I mean, I've done a couple of drafts already, so to some extent I kind of know what to do. And right now, I'm just making sure that the right stuff gets done. Now, actually, I don't really want to talk about augmenting luck anymore. So the idea of augmenting luck, Tom just says, if you think enough, you can see 2 thought bubbles. So if you do a lot of thinking, then you don't have to waste so much money, and you can make more progress, especially if you're thinking in a constructive way with themes and with typical activities. So that's the right kind of planning. And that's what the whole idea behind Tom's book is, to think about the right things. Otherwise, if you have some method, then you have to rely more on luck. So you do less thinking, you have to spend more money, then it's possible you make a little progress, maybe you think more, but you spend more money, maybe you go back to your first step, you have to start over, and when are you going to get to that insight? All right, so that's the whole idea, is that if you use methodology behind thinking, it can help. Now, the second thing is, was basically the idea between the connection between here. So here we have, how do you move from dependence to independence? Well, so be proactive. It's talking about creating effects. All right, now how do you create effects? You have to be proactive, begin with the end in mind. It means you have a goal, you're working towards your goals, and then you have your first things first. Now, first things first, it means you're forming agendas. You're following a plan. All right? Now, what is your plan based on? Your plan is based on some potential. So that's why I think that I like 7 Habits, the idea of, starting with a goal and working step by step toward that goal. And I think this really helped me to recognize the value of Tom's work, was because I have this background of reading the 7 Habits book. So then as I started to understand Tom's book, then I recognized that he is going even deeper and much more specific. All right, so when you want to begin with the end in mind, well, the first idea is you have to shape potential. So you're going to be involving some resources, and then you're also going to have to excite motivations. So these are people. You got to get the right people on board, and you have to get them interacting in the right kinds of ways. So you got to put your team together, and they have to all be motivated, and they have to have the right kind of resources. Now, the more you use your resources, like if you have the right kinds of plans, and you perform the right kinds of actions, and you get the right kind of results, then you're going to be able to reuse the lessons learned. You're going to be creating resources. Those resources go back into the bottom of the stack. So then you can involve those new resources, or you can involve the same resources. Maybe the resources are skills, so they could be enhanced skills, or they can be the skills that you used last time. You can have more money, you can have better infrastructure, or maybe it's the same infrastructure you're using again and again. All right? You have entities, you have the right partnerships, the right stakeholders, or maybe you have better or new. All right? So those are all how we're going to involve the resources in order to shape those resources. And you're going to get everybody excited. So you have to always be understanding potential. Now you take that package of resources and motivated workers who are all aligned in the right way, and you begin to develop your assumptions. You start to do the research. You get the analysts doing the research and coming up with the scenarios. And then as they develop scenarios, then eventually you're going to choose some plans. Now this is the section of the course that I'm trying to build right now. So we have a checklist which is talking about assumptions, doing research, and then putting together the scenarios and making plans. Like literally, this forming agendas is the current online course that I'm developing, and it's for a company who they have their C-level staff that who are they're writing out the objectives. So if we talk about this other methodology called objectives and key results, so the C-level managers, they want to write out the objectives. Actually, I should put it more in this section. The outcomes and the reuses. All right. So these are the guys. So the C-level guys are saying, "Hey, guys, we want to begin with the end in mind." So, and then the thing is, the first things first. They're going to delegate that to the guys in the project, on the project team, or in the department. Now they need to be able to come up with some plans and some scenarios and some assumptions. But again, I'm getting clearer and clearer that the C levels or the department head levels are the guys who are setting the objectives. And once those objectives are set, then the department or the project level guys can start to do the research and build those scenarios, and then bring the plans back to the C levels to get approval and get budgetary approval. All right, so in most businesses, you're already going to have your interactions, you're already going to have your motivations, you're already going to have your resources. Now, you might have to get access to new resources. You may have to do some staffing or some training. You may have to motivate your staff, but that's generally a different topic than the idea of choosing plans and building scenarios, because this is actual action plans which are going to be used to obtain some outcomes. All right, so let's get back to the original idea from today, this morning, where Alexei is saying, hey, when you start your day, you need to think about how many outcomes you will achieve today. All right, so this morning I went out to the river. It just seems so crazy. I went out to the river and I literally redirected the river. I probably got a little bit of a sunburn too. So like there's like a part where there's like a swimming hole and it was like empty. And there was just like, it looked kind of garbagey, you know, there was like some, you know, leaves and mud and stuff like that. And so I started like moving rocks, and it was like relatively close to the swimming hole. And I got a shovel and I started building a channel so that the water could go into this little swimming hole. And then an old man came by, and suddenly I hear him making some noise up like, 30 meters up the river. And I'm like, oh my goodness, there's an old man. So I walked up to the old man, and he's like, no, you got to start here. You got to start way up here at the top of the river and redirect the river from here. And like, I didn't argue. I mean, he's an old man, so if it doesn't work today, I can always just do it tomorrow. I spent like 2 hours like moving boulders in this river, and like now the river looks beautiful. It's like there's like 5 or 6 different channels. The water's like coming down, and there's a huge channel that's going into the swimming hole. And after the 2 hours of redirecting the water, the swimming hole is full of water now. But it didn't exactly solve the problem, because I went down. It didn't solve all the problems, because I got down to the swimming hole. And still the bottom, like there's like this whole, it's very thick layer of dirt, like mud in the bottom of the swimming hole. So I'm trying to figure out like how that could like not like leave a bunch of dirt sediment at the bottom and still flow. And it's just like this apartment, there's like so many things that have to get done. And today is like, what is it, I don't even know what day it is. There's 22 days remaining. I lost my glasses. But I can't see it. Anyways, I got my blackboards over there, and I'm going to start writing these outcomes. So and I'm going to be looking at the outcomes, right? So I'm going to put them up on the chalkboard, write down the outcomes. What am I going to achieve today? I mean, this is just like, we got the this week, next week. So instead of thinking this week, next week, I got to bring it back to like today and tomorrow. Like enough of this week, next week garbage. I mean, I could still do this week, next week. But I think that with this idea from Alexei today, I think it would be better to have a today, tomorrow outcomes list. What are the outcomes I'm trying to achieve today? What are the outcomes I'm trying to achieve tomorrow? And like the goal should be like, how many outcomes of tomorrow can I achieve today? Right? I mean, I got my own apartment. And psychologically, this should really like speed up my ability to achieve outcomes, because this is my property. I think psychologically this should be a major boost. So let's see what happens. I'm still doing the challenge. Now I got my own property. I'm changing the flow of water in the river, and this is just a crazy experience. I hope you're having a great day. This is Space Between Ideas. I'm Blaine Gates. We'll catch you tomorrow. No, tomorrow's the day off. We'll catch you the day after tomorrow.